I've put in there a building safety manager because I can't see the PAP directly doing everything every day. But it's not a mandatory role. This is not a role that is mentioned in the Act. But there's a whole host of professionals that should be involved in this. And I've given just a few here: fire engineers, structural engineers, facade engineers, fire door surveyors, fire risk assessors. All of these and more should be involved in making sure you've got competent people helping you to identify the risks and mitigate against those risks over time, so that you can demonstrate to the building safety regulator that you have got control of this building. So takeaways from the presentation I've given you. First of all, the building safety regulator has jurisdiction of all high-risk buildings. Any building that is 7 stories or more, or 18 meters or more, comes under the building safety regulator. In other words, unlike before, you used to be able to go to a private building control body. You used to be able to go to the council and say, now I want you to be my building control body. You cannot do that anymore for buildings that are 7 stories or 18 meters and above. You can't do that anymore. That choice is removed from you. It is now called a high-risk building, and it sits with the building safety regulator. The building safety regulator has jurisdiction over all parts of building regulations, not just Part A and Part B. Sorry, I didn't explain that, but Part A relates to structure and Part B relates to fire. Although the legislation is about structure and fire, the building safety regulator has jurisdiction over all parts of building regulations. I just want to make sure that is clear. And do think through the implications of that, by the way, because that's huge. That is an absolutely huge responsibility that the building safety regulator is taking on. There is a massive impetus on making sure that there are improvements in the industry, improvements in competence of individuals that are being used to help identify risks and mitigate risk, but also in the products that are being used to build our buildings. And the building safety regulator has jurisdiction over all of that. Understand that the PAP, the principal accountable person, has legal obligations. Those legal obligations cannot be delegated. The PAP might be an individual, or the PAP could be a company, but it's got to be an entity that can be taken to court and can be prosecuted. They cannot delegate their responsibilities. Remember that residents have rights, and they have the ability to bypass the building owner, the building manager, and go directly to the building safety regulator. I think this is a scary one, actually, because you could have, all of a sudden, the building safety regulator coming down on you based on feedback that he's receiving from residents, directly from residents. So just be aware of that. Be aware that the golden thread information that you must hold for your building must be accessible, and it must be digitally held. Okay, that's what it says in legislation. So just be aware of that. And I think the final thing to note is there is a duty on all of us that are involved in this industry, including myself. Anybody who has any sort of stake in these buildings, we've got to work together to fulfill the responsibility and uphold the Act's objective.